Welcome back to Golf Weekly. I am here with one of my favorite people, Mr. John Farrell, head professional at Hilton Head Golf Links. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Daniel. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on the show.
It's a treat.
Now, old John's kind of had to go and screw up and take one of the cutest, shortest golf courses on our beloved PGA Tour and go and lengthen it. What'd you have to go and do that for, John?
Well, our intent was pretty specific. We wanted to get enough yardage back in there to put driver in the tour players' hands. It's really not going to affect so much the everyday player, our guest or our membership, to the extent that it will our PGA Tour players every April. Pete and I wanted them to hit driver in a number of places, and he's the one that oversaw this work that we've just completed. And our intent was specifically for the holes that he designed to play as a driver hole, we put driver back in their hands, and that's what we've accomplished.
We were talking a little bit before we came on air. There were, in particular, a few holes that were meant specifically for that. Mm-hmm. Why don't you walk us through those?
Okay. Our intent was, and to keep the short holes what they were, short holes, where there was a decision to be made on the tee boxes, where you would get on the tee and you'd probably have to look at your hole location sheet and make a decision on what and how you were going to proceed on that hole. And that's what's Harbour Town's uniqueness, and one of the things that makes it such a favorite of the players is...
A short hole, maybe like number 9.
Yeah, 9, 1, 13, most notably. Those are the holes that Pete wanted you to get on there and look at the pin sheet, make a decision on how you were going to negotiate and navigate that hole. It's not about brawn, it's more cerebral, and it takes a little bit more thought and a little bit more thought-provoking, and it takes experience. That's why players play practice rounds. They really need to play a practice round, because you can't just hit fairways at Harbour Town and expect to have good looks at your holes. You have to hit certain sides of the fairway. So we started right on number 3, where we added almost 40 yards.
Wow.
Which they were hitting hybrids and 3 woods and 8 irons and 9 irons, and now we're going to put driver back in their hands, and if there's any wind in their face at all, they're going to have to step on driver to get it out to where they had been hitting their 3 woods.
So the average guy at 3 was already playing long, but for these guys, it was starting to become, as you said, a little bit average.
Yeah, well, it's still, because of the angle of the green, it's still a great design. It just needed that 40 yards has made them put that driver back in their hands, have to get it back out there to where they're not hitting. They're used to hitting 8, 9, and wedge into every par 4. We'd like to see a 5 iron, a 6 iron coming into some of these greens.
These tiny greens, as you mentioned, I think you told me that Harbour Town had officially the tiniest greens on tour.
Yeah, they
per
have
square footage.
Per square foot, we have the smallest greens on tour, smallest targets.
So having a 5 or a 4 iron coming into those greens makes things a little bit more challenging.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
That's why you see these guys, they break putting stats. The records are often broke, like Kenny Knox broke the single tournament putting record. Because if you're missing our greens by a foot or 2, you're still pretty close to that flagstick. So our premium is on shot making. And that's only going to be all the more evident now that we've added the length that we have. In total, we've added about 250 yards to the design, so we're over 7,000 yards now for a par 71. So we're excited. We think the players it's going to be very well received. We've already gotten some feedback from a few of them who have been given the facts and the stats of what we've done with the golf course, and we think they're going to love what we've done.
It's going to be exciting to get the feedback, isn't it?
It is.
Just for the record, so what I see here is that you've done lengthening to number 3.
Yeah, yeah.
You've pushed number 5 back, the par 5.
Yeah.
Funny, you told me Robert Garrigus on the par 5 5th hole hit on 2 days last year, hit driver wedge.
Yeah.
I think it's time to push that back a little bit.
Well, he's not your everyday golfer. But,
right.
Robert busted driver Thursday and Friday and hit wedges in. Now, on Thursday he hit the cart path that is it's pretty unimaginable someone getting it to that point with his tee shot. But he hit the cart path and it propelled the ball up into the fairway where he hit a wedge on.
Wow.
His caddy was Brent Henley was a caddy, was a golf professional in Sea Pines years and years ago. And he validated that was the actual case. He hit driver wedge into our 5th hole twice. So we've only added really 20 yards there. But what we have done there is the bunker that's at the left-hand side that really frames that tee shot very nicely. We've added 2 bunkers over that bunker, so guys have to think twice about, do I want to take a run at it?
Right.
Or if they do, they're going to have to shape it, and they're going to have to bring it in from the right-hand side to get it over that bunker. So they're going to have to think now.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. I also see we've got some added length to number 6, and that tee is going to be pushed a little bit further, closer to that property line, and down further to the right. So that hole is going to play a little bit more like a dog leg now. That'll be interesting to see because it was already a good hole. We're adding some length to 16, which I understand now is going to be across the road.
It is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
16 is probably the one that you're going to, it will turn the most heads. That's across Plantation Drive now on the opposite side going towards 15 green. 16, depending on the winds, they were hitting hybrids and 3-woods off that tee. And then they're just flipping a wedge up there, depending on the winds. But now we really think they're going to have to hit driver because it's a narrow shoot and it's it's 275 to 295 to get it out to where you got a good look at that green. So that's going to be neat to watch. So spectators, don't go to the RBC Heritage this year and not take a peek at that new tee on 16.
Well, something tells me that there's going to be plenty of spectators taking a peek over there at 16.
Yeah, we think so.
Tends to be where 10, 16, where they tend to gather.
Right. That's there's a golf tournament going on too, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That is a fun spot, though.
Yeah, it really is. And I think the last hole that you had mentioned was 18. They're going to be adding a little length there depending on where wind is and those things.
We have the capability of 18 to go back as far as 475.
Wow.
And our tournament, the PGA Tour rules officials under the direction of Slugger White, they'll make a determination about where that tee is going to be. There's been days or years where they've moved the tees up on Thursday and Friday to be virtually our white tee or our member tee because of the winds. You got to give guys a chance to get it over the sound there and get it out to that landing area. And again, that'll be a day of play determination that the Slugger and his team will decide relative to the winds.
It's going to be awful exciting if it comes down to that hole, 475 into the wind, tournament on the line. Yeah. I think we're in for an exciting year.
Yeah, that's a great stage right there.
John, what a pleasure to have you.
Well, thank you.
You're a long-time jewel on this island, and
you.
A treasured friend of mine. Thank you for being on Golf Weekly.
Thank you. My pleasure.
We look forward to seeing you in a month.
That's great. Thank you, Daniel.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be with Doug Weaver to talk about the evolution of golf. Stay with us.